It's yellow, but we're gonna ignore it. It's yellow, that's sad. Alright. Welcome back to Lunar Catastrophe, the custom WOD from DooM. It's not quite here yet, but he might arrive. Meanwhile, let's just start E2M6 weapons development. Last time we played it from the very beginning of the first episode, right, all the way up until here. First episode we played with keyboard only controls, but I felt that the difficulty was adequate enough that I probably wouldn't have been able to deal with it keyboard only in the second episode, and I was largely right. Interesting. What a way to start. Do I have to press something else? Also, yeah, give me a second. First, I'm gonna Discord, give a sec. My channel. My channel. Oh, Hypocat already did shit. Well, whatever. Didn't even notice. Apparently he's here mentally with us. So, right off the bat, I'm faced with an interesting challenge here. The fact that this door is not open, no matter what I do. And that sure is something. The file was dead. Now this just reloads, doesn't it? Well, I didn't say anything about this type of thing from Hypocat from the thread, though I might not have read all of it. Surely though. Why just no clip out of this? Because this is kind of dumb. This I don't know, could be some sort of multiplayer glitch thing where I got spawned in the wrong place. Whatever, I'm no clipping out of here. It opens from, and now I can. What the bloody hell is this? Now it works from both sides. No, well, okay, whatever. I don't understand that. Very interesting. It's not like there's like some sort of weird geometry or anything, because it started working now. I've opened it from the other side. Yeah, I can't even tell if this is a WOD problem or some weird Zoom thing. Anyway, Hypocat, you gonna sit in Discord or are you just content sitting in the chat? Because you know, if people arrive and we start talking about stuff that is not this particular WOD, it's better to have you here verbally with us. Elevator sounds. Alright, if it's however I want, then I'm gonna call it that way. Hello.
Hey.
Okay, share screen. Now you don't have to watch through the stream itself. By the way, and I guess this isn't. No, maybe these things will help. So I mentioned last time a fun new kind of mode for the rendering you can set in DooM that I found out. So basically what you do is you set video mode to hardware accelerated. Of course you keep the whole non-filtered textures, but there is a thing in here. I think it must be just here in post-processing maybe. Yeah, tone map mode. So normally it looks like this, right? In hardware, of course, with the ambient occlusion now enabled. And I'm gonna also enable bloom, which is weirdly enough, bloom actually carries over to softcore rendering. Softcore? That's slightly different. Software. Basically, for some reason, bloom affects software rendering as well. But it's kind of cool if you set the thing that I just changed here back. Tone map. There's weird things you can do here. It's just kind of like, you know, color scheme. But one of them is palette, which simulates the DooM palette, but in different ways. So with ambient occlusion, and especially if there's bright objects in the sky, the bloom almost kind of looks like lighting. So this starts looking a little bit more like Quake, you know, there's like this lighting in the corners of everything here, but it still has the limited palette and pixels. So I'm actually gonna stick with this for a little bit and play a little bit like this, just for fun. Hello, Postal Dude. We'll see.
I don't know. He's saying hello to some noobs. I don't know any noobs here.
I'm a noob. I will freely admit. Also, these guys don't look fuzzy as they should. Is it a hardware rendering thingamajig? I don't really see. And the blur doesn't. I don't care about that. This fuzz effect, fuzzy, yeah. Weird. I guess fuzz just doesn't work in hardware now. Welp. So the candle is too small and this blink doesn't last too much, but if we see any of the lamps, we'll see the bloom effect. Though even now we can see kind of like the shadow, the brightness, distant brightness working and looking completely different in this mode. It looks like we have an ambient light parented to us or something. Almost. Oh, there's more. So I feel like this is a cool way to play, which graphically does not look too heretical. Also, this is weapons development, and I've seen some weapons, but not much development. Okay, let's pick up one of these, because why not? There's a lot of faces everywhere, though. And as usual, I have no idea where I'm where I'm going, or I'm not remembering the layout or anything like that. Even though I try, believe you me, every time I have every intention of trying. But again, this is playing into the things that I criticized about the sword last time. That there's a mix of, I mean, from one level standpoint, it's probably good to have a mix. Like if this was Super Doom Maker, one level, probably would be boring if it was themed in just a very narrow way. But when you're playing an episode made out of multiple levels, I feel like they should be more unique, and in here every level is a mix of everything they can put in episode 2, for example. But I feel like I've reiterated this enough. Just here as a good example again, this music track, I feel really really demands some sort of dark labyrinth. Maybe it's just because I just think of Halls of Damned every time without fail, but you know. It would be like using E2M7 or E3M7, both having the whatchamacallit, the Demon's Waltz, I think track is called, and having some sort of open air high action level to go with that music track, where it actually only fits, in my opinion, something slow and scary. I don't remember, I guess the spawning VATS was not quite as good for it as Limbo, but who cares about spawning VATS? That's PC only levels. I don't care about PC only levels in here. But yeah, I think, unless, I mean, I imagine most people are not quite as strict about the rendering modes as me, so I don't think anyone would highly object if I do slightly unorthodox here. So I'm gonna keep this rendering mode for today's stream. It's gonna be a shorter one, not 4 hours and a half or anything. Probably just gonna finish episode 2. This is map what, 6, 7, 8, I mean, maybe a couple maps into Inferno. But not quite an episode and a half like last time. Because it's a work day. Completely different day for me than it was the Friday, which also would have been a work day, but as I said, I think... Were we doing it on Friday? I think we were doing it on Friday. I had missed my... Oh, interesting. My work that day, maybe because of that I was more energetic than normal. Though today was weird, and I'm sure no one watching Doom wants to hear about the intricacies of programming that I had to involve myself with today at work. But I did something...
I want to hear about it.
Okay, basically, since in the meantime there is not much to do, so we are doing, as some people might know, these like VR demos of our questionable, appropriately Doom-like technology of sprites, basically, but without, with 120 or variable numbers of rotations instead of just 8 like in Doom. And so we've had multiple projects for multiple VR devices, including HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, Gear VR, even a couple for Microsoft HoloLens, and some we just did for, like, you know, with mouse look for PC and stuff, for WebGL, for example. And since that museum one, which you Hippocat saw, it was even released on Steam and everything, but I think I linked you to the browser version without the cool floor reflection. Since that, our boss thinks that, I guess, every project that's not specifically for like Gear VR, basically every project that's for PC should be like that, should be compatible with everything. And so I have been doing some conversion. Is this floor gonna kill me? No, it's not. Interesting. I like this little room here with the tentacle floor. Snake. I kind of don't like that this floor texture is called Snake because it's boring. But yeah, so basically there was a very old version of a project with a really old code in a different scene visually and everything. But it had a lot more functionality than the museum build that I had done before. That was the universal one. Because in the museum you just walk around and look around and pretty much that. In the one that I'm doing now, instead of like weird ass statues, there are just bags, and you can pick them up and spin them around in your hand, and there is functionality to like add them to a shopping cart and browse your shopping cart, scroll there, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. Okay, this secret is really cool because of the wall texture changes here, and also highly reminiscent of the secret in the first episode. I mean, first map, second episode. Where did it put me now? This reminds me of freaking SCP thingamajig with the melty dude who puts you in his own pocket dimension. It's like this room with different possible exits, even though these are not actually possible exits, looks like. Maybe I just step on the teleportal and I go away. Yeah, okay. So, also, I don't know if I can record my work process, Postal Dude. Might be frowned upon by my boss. And also, I don't really want to show like the inner working of all this stupid shit that I do in there. But yeah, so that by itself is not quite interesting. The fact that you just had to like adapt old holy shit, invisibility makes this horrible. Adapt old functionality to the new fancy magic thing that should support all the platforms, all the VR, because, you know, to use VR properly, you use plugins and whatnot, extensions for Unity that come with those. And why am I here and how do I go back out? And they automate a lot, and so basically I need to like shove prefabs, setups for both VR options and for mouse look options into one class, and just one of them works depending on what hardware is found. Again, that is not what I'm leading toward. So in both Oculus Rift and Vive there are two controllers you can use, and with our interface kinda had to make use of both of them separately, because with one you would hold an item you chose, like a bag, and with the other you would still have it free to press the buttons on the like shopping list menu that opens when you hold the bag. You couldn't do it with just one controller, obviously, because it would be... you can't... I mean, you can have the bag and the bag emits a laser that you point with like a controller, but it would be really silly looking. So that kind of requires double fisting it. And of course the old functionality, I mean, rather the new functionality, the universal one, wasn't built for double fisting, much less all that interactivity. And mouse look is really fun to try to make work in all that context. And the thing that I did, that I just sat back and laughed at myself and wanted to share it with someone, but all our programmers are really busy. And it's kind of embarrassing and funny at the same time. I guess maybe more so for me because I understand how everything works. What's this do again? Probably something temporary. Also, this is red, right? Okay. I'm not sure where I am going. Where was that barren that I fled from? Okay, I'm gonna catch up with what Postal Dude's writing in a sec. Okay, here I think. Yeah, there's the Baron himself. I guess he was
What we really
here.
need for VR. No, first of all, actual good resolution.
Yeah, more than VR resolution is kind of meh. With proper anti-aliasing, it's passable largely.
And then we need full body force feedback suits.
Well, I mean, that's the ultimate goal, obviously, but current VR is already workable for many things that are of course limited, but still it has its own unique potential. But yeah, back to my shit. Basically, the way I'm doing mouse look is for controllers as well. I forget if it's called ray casting or ray tracing. I think it's ray casting when you. It's not the graphical thing, but rather when you just you know, imagine a line, throw it from one point to the other point, and if it intersects with something, that means you're like pointing at it with whatever that line is from.
Yeah, that's raycasting, I think.
Raycasting, yes. So for the mouse, the way Unity does basically like allows you to mouse over an object in 3D space and figure out what you're mousing over is that it can create a ray that comes like out the screen through a specific point on the screen somehow. I'm not sure the maths behind it, but basically if you put the point as in where the mouse is, it works perfectly. And so for my functionality with the two controllers and one mouse, you can probably imagine the problem where you use the mouse. I just, you know, the same function, the same method, whatever you want to call it, I use for managing controllers and their input. I used for the mouse, but I replaced the ray. Basically, that ray is constructed from controller's position and orientation. Replace that ray with the mouse generated ray. Ah, dang it. Well, that's all well and good, but the controller functionality that I am building, that I have built rather previously, involves knowing when the controller, one of two, is holding an object. And when it's holding an object, it is no longer able to interact with other things because the laser pointer is disabled, the controller itself, like model of the controller, is hidden, and you can only press the trigger again to let go of the object, right? And with the mouse, first I just did like, okay, I'm not gonna use the second controller, I'm just gonna use one controller and substitute the ray for the mouse ray. Turns out there's a problem, because when you pick up an object, you can no longer press any buttons. You can only put it back. You cannot press the buttons on the window. So I needed somehow... of course, the cursor is still there. Cursor doesn't go anywhere, but it just doesn't do anything, because the one ray that would determine if I'm pointing at a button, for example, is no longer being cast, because technically the controller, so-called controller, is holding an object. So, I mean, it's all leading up to something that's probably not going to be funny to anyone but me. But basically what I did is just, I figured out what the hell, and I re-enabled the second controller function, the call for the second controller. And basically with mouse control now, I'm casting two rays into the same place every frame, whereas I would, you know, it makes sense to cast a separate ray for every controller every frame, or one ray for mouse for every frame, but I'm casting two rays for the mouse every frame. And you know, it's just amusing because whichever of the rays happens to pick up an object is disabled, but I don't give a shit because the second ray is still free to interact with the buttons. And I'm just like, okay, I don't even care like which ray is gonna do what. One of them is gonna hit and it's gonna get disabled, and the second one's gonna do the other thing. So basically I'm just like, imagine putting two controllers like inside each other at the exact same position, and I'm doing that for the mouse. And it was kind of a step over myself to just do that and know that it is not under my control which is gonna do what. But I just trust that if two rays are... I mean, nothing happens at the same time. I'm not like whatchamacallit, like when it's going in parallel. I don't remember how it's called. Multi-threading? Something? Basically, I'm not doing that. I'm doing everything like the call for one controller thing, then the other. That's because I'm bad, of course. I'm not good enough to do any sort of parallel bullshit, because it's like routines or coroutines, and I don't even know how those work. Because I'm not a programmer, and it's kind of a mistake of my boss that I'm actually doing programming. And
I think coroutines were pretty easy in Unity.
Yeah,
some of the basic tutorials just definitely mention coroutines.
Yeah, I've seen them.
And you just need to specify a certain type of output for the function, and then you can use it like with start coroutine.
I'm basically too lazy to figure out or remember exactly how they work and to think in those terms as well. I also kind of hate that whole exact output thing that you need for, like, what's it called, like hello Vin. Not interface, maybe interfaces, delegates, stuff like that. I don't remember what it is already, but the stuff where, like, you need to specify exactly what you're prepared, like what parameters and outputs it's gonna have ahead of time, or something.
Yeah, everything that's not a basic type, you just look at it and like think, eh.
Basically, I don't do any of that because I'm too lazy and unexperienced with programming. But yeah, basically, because I'm casting to race, there is no chance of having a glitch, like, you know, one frame glitch where they both grab an object or something like that. So the first, probably always the first ray that is cast grabs the object, and then second. The best part, of course, because I'm so great, is that, you know, with the free hand, which is used for pointing at buttons, you can also just, while you're holding one object, you can, with that hand, pick up another, and that, of course, automatically works. So, like, your hand, where you're already holding something, that is letting go, and you're taking something in the other hand, and the menu pops up immediately for that object as well. So, you know, you can do sick combos and shots and like that if you want. What is that though? I guess it opened that. And for the mouse, I guess it switches around which ray is holding an object, which ray is interacting with the menus. But yeah, I'm not, you know what? Upon retelling, this is nowhere near as funny. But when I did it, it's like, you know, throwing your hands up, knowing it will work, but the innards of how it works are better off not being known by anyone. Okay, where did he go? Alright, and some glove finger things in my fun product. Well, I mean, the final product, you can, it's free on Steam, the museum shit. It's literally a menu and one room afterwards where you walk around and look at the DooM sprites of some weird statues in one room.
The statues are really fucking weird though.
Yeah, the statues are interesting. That's art, man. Don't talk shit about art.
Just this weekend I was writing OHKO for GTA 2, and for the first time in my fucking life I used a bitwise operator while knowing what I was doing. I feel like a total fucking scientist.
I have absolutely no idea what that is. Also, Hello Mini Spider, it's not, it just says the music from it. And Zelda Prince Zelda does the same. Does the game get better after the wolf? Well, I mean, technically it depends on what you consider better. I like the wolf segments, but you know, after you do the 3 initial dungeons for which you have to do the wolf, he ends up being only barely required afterwards, and most of the game you still play as Link. I consider Twilight Princess good almost throughout. Of course, a lot of people do think that the beginning is tedious and boring, but I don't know. I like things that are tedious and boring.
Well,
Right.
you know how you
Bitwise, right?
write conditions for if-else statements, and when like in C#, AND is like double AND symbol,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And single AND symbol is a bitwise operator.
Oh, it's where it
So-
doesn't. It's like doesn't check for the second if the first is already false or something like that.
No, no, no.
Or it's the other way around.
No, it's completely different thing.
Wait. I thought one of them was like if you do a double, it checks for both anyway, and if you do it once, it only checks for the first one, and then the second one depending on the first one, something like that. Like doesn't
Well,
do.
I know that's like a thing you can control somehow, but that's not about
I
it.
was like, when I was reading up on how to do AND and OR, which I did, that was what was described to me. Basically, I don't remember which is which, but double is one and the single is another. Okay, but maybe I'm wrong. So what's the thing that you learned? how to do.
Well, this is like bitwise AND when you use it just once. And what it does, it just applies AND to each bit of the two things you're trying to like operate on.
And
Like
what,
you got 2 bytes, and you can use this like bitwise AND, and what it will do, it will just apply AND to each pair of bytes.
oh, to first,
To
first,
each
second, and
pair of
second.
bits, I mean.
First, second, and second like that, right?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I actually had to use this shit to like change some crap in the memory.
Ah, I honestly, like at this point, I'm struggling to even imagine a use scenario for that, but I imagine it's, if you use it, it must be useful because it's not like recording like a big game.
Basically,
why did you use it?
I wanted to have a checkbox so invisibility wouldn't work. And I kind of sort of knew where invisibility in the memory was. The problem is that it was like 4 bytes, and that invisibility was like fucking somewhere inside of those 4 bytes. So I had to actually write some code that would display those 4 bytes in binary in real time. And then I figured out which bit exactly controls the invisibility. And then I had to change that one bit. But apparently there are no like super easy ways to do that in C#. So I had to use that bitwise shit.
Oh, so the actual use case of the bitwise you didn't even manage to explain in the end because I still don't understand. You like set up the scene or some like the story of how it came to it, and then I used bitwise, but why still unknown.
Well, imagine you have a byte, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would you change a single bit in that byte? Easily.
Ah, so you only need to change one. Ah, interesting. Ah, now I understand. I'm not gonna like properly think exactly how I would do that using bitwise, but I understand that it would be possible using that.
So basically what it was, I wanted to change one bit, but the rest of them, I think they're like always 0 or something. But just in case they are not, and changing them explodes the game somehow. I didn't want them to change. So I take that one byte and I apply bitwise AND with 253. Because 253 in binary is 1111101.
Ah.
And what it does, it changes the 7th bit to 0.
I see.
And doesn't do anything to the rest of them.
Smart, and you can only set that byte, but like whole, right? Not single bits of it, of course.
Yeah.
That's why you had to do that. Cool. And yeah, I was about to ask, so you like made up the other value that would do exactly what you needed it to do, and then you just, yeah, okay, cool. Interesting. Huh. Well, you're already deeper in this shit than I ever was.
Not really. This is probably like baby shit to people who actually know what they are doing.
Well,
but this was literally me using it for the first time in my life, and I feel like fucking Einstein.
My stuff is even more baby shit. Like, I literally, almost literally, well, figuratively, write in C# in Unity as if I was writing like a basic, because I really I'm not thinking about like proper object-oriented programming, how to divide everything into classes properly, how to make them all interact in smart ways. I'm just like, okay, here, this script, there's a script needs something like, okay, the player character puppet needs to do stuff. I'm gonna write one script that does everything that this object needs to do. Or, additionally, I'm also gonna put everything that only needs to happen like once, which means like storing some like global variables, for example, in a way. And then for like, okay, object bag, I'm gonna put everything that a bag can do, including like controls, positioning, calculating the display frame, everything into one script. I'm gonna put the script on it and nothing else. Basic programming, well, Vin, I can't really tell anymore because I learned kinda basic, like via Dark Basic, which is a variation on it with a game engine.
Vin, do you mean basic programming as in like doing easy stuff?
Well,
like hello world shit?
Kinda the same,
or do you mean
it?
like language?
Like the language is kinda basic as well. Point is that I learned Dark Basic when I was somewhere in school, like middle of school, and I really cannot tell anymore what it is like to not know the basics. So I can't say how difficult it is to understand the basics, the basic ideas, and how you do things and how you want to achieve things. But those are, you know, maybe I do, because of course there is methods of doing things in object-oriented programming that I just do not know, and I refuse to learn, because my projects are for work are really small and simple, and they work just as well without any of that stuff. I can afford to write really shit code and optimize. I do still try to, like, I don't know, I'm not even sure how much on modern computers that even makes a difference, but like eliminate repeated calculations where I notice that, okay, I am calculating, say, like difference between two vectors couple times every turn. I calculated only once, put it to variables. So really basic stuff like that, like baby basic. Literally a hedgehog could program as well as I do. A couple places, like a couple things that I did were not quite like smart, but it required some thinking to come up with. And most people, so far as I know, don't really bother with those things. Like, for example, considering I'm doing VR, usually you can't, I mean, you don't have separate control of the player character and your camera via positional tracking both influence the same object. Like, if you're doing first person anything, and usually, like, if you move with, as far as I understand, I've not actually played many VR games or applications. So basically, VR, what information it gives to Unity is like relative to the origin point, where is your camera and where does it look? And Unity then automatically makes the camera wherever the camera is in Unity in this scene, the main camera, it gives it the local position from that info, and the orientation, local rotation from that info as well. And basically, if you try to move that object manually with the keyboard and mouse, for example, you will be moving it. Imagine like a platform, like a truck, and you can walk around in the bed of that truck. That will be the VR head tracking or positional tracking. And separately, you move the truck. That will be in-game, like mouse and keyboard movement. And basically, you can imagine if this pretend hypothetical truck could turn around its middle, for example, right? Which normal trucks really can't, I guess. But if it's a tank, for example, if it can spin like a tank, right? If you stand in one corner, in a far corner of it, and you spin with a mouse, you're gonna fly in a freaking circle in an orbit, because you're standing in the corner of the rectangle that is spinning, and that corner is spinning like this, and not like this, basically. And of course, if you collide with a reasonable human or character-sized collider, you try to use that to detect whether you're going into walls and such. Of course, you do that for movement using controllers, keyboard and mouse and stuff. So if you stay like here, and then in VR you make a couple steps forward, you will go into a wall. But I combined them in a way that I have not seen used anywhere else, where basically using your head or tracking like that is the exact same way of control as using a keyboard and mouse. So basically you have your character puppet thing with the collider and everything else, and I actually try to resist Unity doing automatic VR stuff by putting the camera. I make sure that the camera is always ends up in the like axis of that thing, doesn't move away from it. But I used information of where the camera was, like where Unity tried to move the camera to move the actual object itself. So basically the movement you see ends up being the same, but your camera is always in the middle of the object, which means no matter how you turn, how you walk, it doesn't sync off. And of course that also means that the fun thing to do is if you move by the wall and you try to walk forward in VR, it'll be like your face is hitting the wall and you're kind of like pushing the wall away almost. So if you sit, do this, march up to the wall and lean forward, it will push the wall, you will push the wall and the whole world away with your forehead, and when you lean back in the normal position you will be standing farther from the wall again. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, so there was a...
Man, this all sounds like some janky shit.
Well, it works. I wouldn't have... You know, there's... I heard... Well, how do I get
Have
back down
you,
there?
you know, just go to your boss and tell him, I need like a couple days to just sit and play fucking video games in VR just to see how it works in other games.
Well, I mean, we know how it works. Most games use like exclusive teleporting, don't use any player control separately like that. But he wants things to work exactly like he wants them. What's the word? No matter, I guess, no matter how they work in other games. Basically, I didn't have to do research because my boss doesn't want to do everything the way other people do, and so I had to figure those things out. But
Well, it just kind of sounds like a bad way to do it because people will have
bad.
certain expectations.
Well, I
from
mean,
a VR application, so they are gonna try to do the things the usual standard way everyone else does it.
You can do everything
they're
else.
gonna be super surprised.
You can do everything else the same way always, because when in VR applications that don't mix those two things, it's usually you move around on your own, but you don't have like controlled movement with the keyboard. You can only teleport. And within the places where you teleport, you can move around on your own. You can still do that. You have teleport points, you can move around. Usually, I guess, the most thing is just like, it gives an option to move around using keyboard and mouse, which is usually not an option in VR games at all. Or, to my knowledge at least. It's always just teleporting and head tracking based movement.
Well, you know, in Gorn, you move around by, like, making this like running motion with the controllers.
Oh well, who cares about that kind of stuff? You don't expect that from like by default from every application.
Well, I guess not.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna like trip people up too much, but if they know to be able to combine both, it's just more convenient if you want to do it sitting, of course, because when you're standing you won't really use keyboard and mouse. Why did I even go here? I wanted to go back to that one elevator in that one place that I don't remember how I got there, because I saw that the elevator had like an optional extra floor that I didn't leave at. I think this is where I went. Yeah, okay, so that... Oh no, that's where I come here through this here place.
Also, wasn't there like some kind of analog control on those controllers? Because I remember in Payday 2 when I was playing, there was like something on the controller itself.
Yes.
That you could like move around and your character would move.
Vive controllers have trackpads, basically like little touch screen circles, not screen but touch circles, and the Oculus controllers have little sticks, and those can be also used to move like that, but I don't know what I have no idea what they're normally used for. I'm pretty sure not that, so you know, if they try to use those they will find out they are walking suddenly. But, you know, we don't really need those for anything else. Okay, well I have a suit, I'm gonna go here. And I'm using plasma because I want to kill everything fast. I don't want to spend time when I have a suit. I will probably still need to go grab the other one after I kill like this collection of things. Yeah, like, okay. Go away, freaking Spectre, I don't need you right now.
You've seen ray tracing mod for Quake 2, right?
There was like a video, someone was discussing it. I haven't played it, but they showed a bunch of it, and I saw recently some news somewhere that some other, I forgot what it was, basically some other games got the treatment.
Well, apparently they're gonna like remake Quake 2 for ray tracing, like
Oh.
the entire game, and
Well,
like sell it.
you know, I don't like Quake 2, so I don't care. If they remake Quake
Well,
1,
yeah, I'm also kind of like feeling conflicted about that
that's literally one
because
of the
this is
worst
really
games to do
cool
it.
that they are doing this finally with ray tracing, because ray tracing was a thing for like fucking years. But
I
the
remember
computers just weren't good
back-
enough to do it in real time.
back in Game EXE, in the magazine that we all remember fondly. In like one of the really old issues, I remember Господин Paget was talking about ray tracing, and he was like, okay, obviously they would need to use like a customized graphics card that would have the capability to do many small operations at the same time instead of like complex operations one after another, right? So you'd be able to calculate the entire screen at the same time. And that was like, I think, before Serious Sam Second Encounter times. And finally they're making graphics cards that are specifically tuned for ray tracing. It's like more than 10 years since that. It's kind of crazy. I like ray tracing as an idea, and I almost kind of look forward to when games transition, like game engines fully transition to it as the default rendering method, because you just don't have to do a lot of lighting anymore. You won't have to bake your lighting, bother with reflections. Reflections are the stupidest shit right now, and they always suck. And reflections will be magically like perfect with ray tracing. One thing I'm not so sure about is that for ray tracing to properly work, the 3D geometry in the scenes will have to be slightly... I don't know how they do it right now in games, but for example in shooters you have your pair of arms and gun, and that is gonna get reflected in all reflections, so you'll always will have to make a proper character model for every first-person shooter anyway, just for reflections. Maybe like lower quality.
Well, that doesn't really sound like a bad thing.
Maybe
I
not.
always liked in first-person shooters when you can like look down and see your legs and shit.
Yeah, that's usually fun. I don't know, well, for example, for shooters like Doom or Serious Sam, I'm not sure I actually want that, because like, if you move really fast, it's gonna look jank as hell if you can see your legs just like sliding across the floor. But I mean, honestly, if you just turn off the character model, I don't know, maybe there could be some sort of like layer-based. Clearly they should be able to make some sort of layer-based toggle, so like, for example, this thing renders by itself but does not reflect or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of hard to imagine how it works. I don't remember exactly how, like... I need a couple seconds to focus to remember how ray tracing works at its core, and if you can set like... I guess you can't really, like, if it reflects, you would have to separate the light information that came from objects from different layers, right? So that you can then exclude that light information from calculations, depending on if you're showing it by itself or if you're trying to show it through reflections. It's going to be different. So maybe it's kind of like more challenging, but I imagine it's possible to do. Oh, right, okay. I'm just, you know, basically right now I'm playing like a Valve playtaster, which does not understand where it's going. Just where the pretty lights are, there I'm going. I have no idea that I actually now have a yellow key where yellow doors were. This is why I will never probably stream my first time through any game with any complexity in it, because I'm just not able to keep track of things when I'm talking.
Well, conventional 3D graphics, they work by taking like 3D world coordinates and converting them into like 2D screen coordinates.
Yeah, the
right?
matrix bullshit.
Okay.
Matrix bullshit.
And with ray tracing, you like just cast rays through the camera.
Yes.
For every pixel on the screen,
yeah.
And just see what they intersect with.
As far as I know, the ray just, you know, it bounces off stuff, or I guess in case of maybe transparency, like partial transparency, it goes through, and it loses. I remember from Game EXE, the explanation, that's the only source I have for it. In theory, it bounces off all the surfaces, simplifying it, of course. It loses light depending on the property of the surface. And when, like, if it loses all the light, it's just gone. You stop calculating it. If it hits a light source, that pixel is colored with the color that the ray ended up being. That's how I understand it. Or like, you know, light source, or I guess a skybox or some shit. I don't know how it would work with skybox. Like, I haven't thought of that. But that's the basic idea of how I understand it.
So I guess there wouldn't be really much problem.
Well, I mean,
just doing it like collision style race, you know.
well,
You just don't fucking collide
that's
with
the thing.
Floaty arms.
But how would you render them at all if they don't collide with stuff? The rays need to collide with the floaty arms, but then they need to stop colliding with the mirrors, I guess, or... I'm not... Or if a ray has collided with the arms, like when it bounces off a mirror... I don't know. Actually...
Basically, let smarter people figure this shit out.
Actually, wait a second. If you have mirrors, you still want a full player character model to reflect, so... You still need to make a full player character model.
Not necessarily. I mean, mirrors just can't reflect the player. They will reflect everything but the player.
Well, what's the point of being a vampire? That's like... I was... Like, the problem was that... if you have a model of the arms and weapon, and you have mirrors that work perfectly, but you are a vampire, that's almost probably worse for the end result than having to model one extra character model. I don't know, there's just some tricks, you know, like the interface floating in proper 3D is gonna affect light and everything. And model, like weapon models in first person. In some engines, some games, they draw it on like a separate layer, separate camera layer, kind of. So it's drawn basically on top of the already prepared picture of everything else, so it never clips into anything. And those kinds of tricks. 2D, like 2 and 5D side-scrollers like Donkey Kong Country Returns, you know, 3D graphics but 2D plane. When you have platforms that you can jump through from below, but you don't fall through them, like, you know, clouds in Mario, for example. A lot of platforms in Donkey Kong Country do that. In the Donkey Kong Country Returns, Donkey Kong is always drawn on top of those platforms. In Smash Brothers, you visibly clip through them every time you jump up. I believe that, even though it kind of fucks with the perspective perception, right? But it's not VR, so who cares? I believe that the Donkey Kong Country method is superior because you don't physically clip through the platform as you jump up onto it. And to do that, I'm like 99.9% sure that Donkey Kong Country Returns do the layer thing, where, you know, Donkey Kong is there in the game world, and he is lit up by all the light sources, but the camera, there's two cameras. One picks up everything but Donkey Kong, the other picks up only Donkey Kong. And the other camera's information is drawn on top of the first. So even if he goes behind something, he is drawn on top of it. But he is correctly lit and everything. I guess with ray tracing, like, how would you do that with ray tracing? I don't even know. I don't even want to think about it. Probably also possible, but it's gonna be hard. Basically, nearly all the tricks that you can have in 3D are kind of off the table with ray tracing. But, you know, nowadays with 3D modeling, it's not like people do. Nowadays people model by like sculpting anyways, so there are no holes in the models usually, unless you manually put them there for some reason. It was sculpting, and we can afford everything be like just, you know, fair. Okay, we need a character, he's only seen from the hands forward, but in the reflections is going to be the full. We can afford to have a full character there. Who cares? Modeled easily, rendered easily. So it kind of, actually, with all the sculpting stuff, how I imagine almost everything is modeled nowadays, apart from possibly like buildings and such. A lot of characters and environment objects are modeled by sculpting, and then exporting it.
Sculpting sucks. I don't like it.
I don't like it either, but you can't really get away from it for objects of any like complex shape. Man, I just realized I'm not looking for secrets at all. Hello, Chain Gunner. I just noticed.
Yeah, hello.
So everyone... Oh hey, we're already here. Demonic Tether. What was the last one even called? Weapons development. That was the... I never even saved in that one. Starport. The last one was Starport. Cool. I didn't pay attention to how many secrets I found, but okay. So this is a swastika, or is it a backwards swastika? I don't remember which orientation it's supposed to have. Anyway, let's head out. We have a plasma gun. I wonder if there's multiple cyber demons in this one. Yes, there are. Also, you need to step on the triangles to lower platforms for the resources. Well, only 2 looks like. I'm gonna run around and see how many people can get angry with the cyber demons from the splash damage. But yeah, so basically, I think with the sculpting, it's then exported with, you know, probably automatically exported. Lower poly counts. The texturing is done via like substance paint or shit. I don't know how unwrapping is done for the texture mapping, but it's probably also automatic in some way or another. Maybe unwrapping is actually done manually for the like scaled down poly count models made with the sculpting, and then the color information from the sculpted model is like rendered onto the texture, maybe like that. But basically, what I mean to say is, modeling 3D graphics is rapidly approaching literally sculpting out of clay. And for that reason, I guess weird 3D graphical tricks probably are gonna go extinct anyway. Though I wonder how
imagine going into some kind of art university to learn fucking actual real life sculpting to work as a 3D modeler.
Well, actually, it would be kind of interesting if you could like scan the real sculpture. I mean, you probably can, right? You can. Are there 3D scanners? There are some sort of. Isn't that basically
there
what
is laser scan.
Our program stuff used to be like that before we switched to DooM sprites, but it didn't really work very well. But you could literally sculpt something IRL, basically how some of the DooM monsters were made, but you would then scan them, I guess kind of like you scan like people's faces into character models right now, but more universal. You could scan your object, whatever it is, might be for level geometry assets, might be for characters, and then you like rig it and animate it and everything. Honestly, you could even like probably, I don't know, it probably would be weird to, no, you can't really place the bones in your sculpted object. I mean, actually, no, wait. They do clay models with like wire skeletons to move them, and I think some of the DooM monsters might have had that actually. So imagine if you could, it's all sorts of interesting now. Imagine if you could do like, not wires, but like some sort of constructor, customizable set, various length bones you could link together, then like actually sculpt an actual character around them, and then not only scanning its 3D appearance, but then to fucking animate it using like IRL posing of said sculpture and mocap-ing the bones inside it. How crazy would that be? I think I just invented the future.
Yeah, I guess.
Which is kind of actually hilarious enough the past, more so than the future. The future would be taking the ideas out of your brain and making them realities. But this is kind of like, you know, what I said about Mortal Kombat 11, where it almost feels like a return to digitized sprites, because a lot of the characters, or all of the characters, faces at least, they are mocap-ed and the faces are scanned out of actors. So it's more like the first 3 Mortal Kombats than ever before in 3D. And now we can have a future DooM game where the monsters are once again clay sculptures posed IRL and then scanned into the game. Wow. Man, I need to start something up with that shit. Also, I will soon die from all this crappy blood damage. I need to go into the swastika and get some health. Swastikas are good for you. Where is he? I'm afraid. Oh no, this is terrible. Also, this is a really fun cyber demon fight, kind of. Mostly because I'm a dipshit, I am too scared of actually like just fighting him, so I have to run around like an idiot. Maybe because of the other monsters, but they're dead, okay. Yeah, okay, that's what I'm thinking about Chain Gunner. For some reason I thought like the Baron had that, but maybe not. With your rocket launcher smoking, I was not using a rocket launcher. You didn't even put, I mean, you put plasma guns in this. Who would use a rocket launcher? And their plasma gun, oh, on the version, never mind, of overheating, you sent triumphant over the gruesome wreckage of the two cybernetic demon twins oversaw the amalgamation of hell and the lost USC facilities you just gunned your way through. Yeah, Bruiser Brothers got upgraded. But there is always someone on or something else higher up the ladder. You load your weapons and set out across the Red Sea before you in search of... How? Where did you get the hazmat suits to set out across the fucking Red Sea? Red Sea is toxic. Before you're in search of whatever is orchestrating this madness. And when you find them, there'll be hell to pay. So in this one you don't rappel down from Deimos onto hell. Interesting. Though it still kind of shows this, but... I mean... I don't know if I expected them to change this graphic to something that corresponds to our marine wading through the sea with the like former bases deep away, or the new place where he's coming in the distance as well. But now that I thought they could have done that, and considering the title pic was changed, I always feel like they should have changed this as well. Though maybe they just used like a stock picture and photoshopped it for the title pic, so it would have been not worth it to try to come up with something for this one. Anyway, let's start Inferno, or where bad guys go in here, shy of the word hell, I guess. Well, Money Spider, it's a good question. I don't have the answer to that. Also, I just realized with the menu overlay, some of the things up here almost look like demonic Joker faces. Like there's teeth, the whole triangle here is a grin, and there's like one eye, another eye, and nose somewhere here. I don't know. It's probably just, you know, the pareidolia thing. Maybe part of Deimos, yeah. Can't be the whole moon just reshaped by hell. So when Deimos teleport out of the sky in the Doom, I forgot how to say like Prehistoria in English. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Backstory. There we go. Maybe, I guess. Unless it's only like for characters. Basically, you know, in the Doom readme, it says that, hey, Deimos just vanished from the sky at some point when everything went wrong. And it is implied heavily that Deimos teleported into hell, where it was now floating. But I guess I never thought about why this chunk is not a moon space, not a moon shape. So Deimos must have been broken into small pieces when it teleported to hell. Interesting. I'm very much interested in that Doom Eternal part that they showed with the Google Stadia event, where you're literally jumping on what looks like chunks of the planet, or like chunks of maybe, I don't know, it was probably Mars. Chunks of Mars and one of the Mars bases that were blown away using an orbital BFG cannon. Somehow the gravity still points down. I'm not actually sure. I didn't see if there was like reduced gravity in that one. Anyway, where bad guys go, ultra violence. Let's see if you know what? I'll have an excuse. In the first stream, I did not look for secrets. I mean, I looked for secrets, but then I stopped trying to get all the secrets on one level. I couldn't. This time, I was too engrossed in talking about programming, stupid, dumb, boring shit. So I just forgot to even look for secrets and check how many I had found. So I have that excuse. But now that I remember that, I'm gonna have to look for secrets again. Hello, Hazmati.
Hello.
Well, I mean, Hazmati, maybe, you know, you can float above a flat surface, flat world. Also, so, okay, you all remember the beginning of Hellkeep, right? This pit, kind of, not a pillar inside it, but a switch on the wall, where you press and you rise above into the courtyard before the flat-ass Hellkeep. That's pretty iconic as far as starts go. And this clearly is taking from that. But I found it really cool how this actually starts. This beginning I saw before I streamed the first time. Check this out. Press the switch, expect to rise up. Oh, twist. We're actually in the ceiling and we lower down to this. It's like literally upside down, subverted expectations. And there is that reminds me of running on that bridge with the shotgun that explodes, and that's the Hellkeep itself. How is it actually called? Infernal Shores. Hey, hey. I get it, kind of. Not really. Actually, that is consistent because, you know, we were wading through the sea of blood, apparently. I also like kind of like the use of the pipe texture as the side of the snakes. Almost kind of works. Anyway, let's ignore everyone until I get a shotgun. I cannot be arsed to use the pistol. This really is reminiscent of the Hell Keeps Beginning. Also, I feel like it's time to switch back to the proper renderer and as well as remove display, hardware, remove the bloom or whatever it was that carries over. I think it's bloom that carries over into software rendering, because this place was way crappier looking thanks to the red-brown palette. Now it's slightly better. I'm trying to read the chat now. Well, only Deimos is floating is just because Deimos got teleported separately. Hell could be a planet in another dimension. Yes, I mean Hell could be a interdimensional void, and it's still, you know, you could have a section of Hell that is flat and have Deimos floating above it. Lunar what's that sing? Yeah. Also, bring mom to the airport. Well, Hazmati, I mean, there's no heavy story in this. You could argue for intermissions, but it's not as bad as if you were following like a Witcher 3 quest storyline and you missed it. So don't feel too bad if you can't watch part of it. And we are just talking about boring programming stuff. That, you know, Hippocat wanted to hear my programming shit, I think because I hyped it up as more amusing than it ended up being.
It was sufficiently amusing.
Well, but yeah, probably for almost no one else. Luis, no, I'm dead.
Antroid is both alive and dead, until you measure him.
Yeah, don't measure how alive I am. In that case, I will either end up alive or dead. Any parallels with any cats strongly frowned upon, for multiple reasons. Okay, wait, the front is... Hey, I can open the front now, but I don't want to because this here wing is still free. Okay, Cacodemons I'm still kind of not too fond of shooting. This is probably not gonna have quite the ammo starvation that young me experienced in Inferno on Ultra Violence on the SNES, but I'm still gonna want to keep a lot of... It's just instinct, you know, in Hell, to keep a lot of ammo for the second level, just in case. Now this is a cool little corridor, too bad it's not like its own section and ends immediately. And this reminds me of tracks and trips and tracks. What now? Tricks and traps. Wow, I just realized it could be...
I was almost sure you were gonna say Truck Simulator.
No, this is not quite like Truck Simulator. No, I just realized that if you switch the vowels in that name, trips and tracks becomes tracks and trips, I guess. And it's also a plausible name, tracks and trips. That's for like a Mario Maker moving platform on track level. This is true hell, by the way. The strobe light, though I don't mind the strobe light as much as I did back in, like, again on the SNES in that one place in level 3 of episode 1. But I was deathly afraid of sections where basically it was dark and a bunch of columns because, you know, the SNES DooM controls, it's kind of a pain to just look around the column gingerly. And basically any step you take, one more monster or several can end up being uncovered from behind some bullshit somewhere. And that stressed me out. To the point where every time I drew like imaginary maps of levels for games like Doom, I always put on, like in every scary level, I always put on sections in a large hole with a lot of pillars in it. Oh, there's more chat, let me see. Hello Ilya. Sigil haven't played, but I will. Ilya is asking if I played Sigil, which was apparently released yesterday, but then Shengana says it was leaked. I We'll stream it. I will stream it. So
Okay,
you'll know.
that means I don't have to play it. That's nice.
I'm not sure when though. Maybe as soon as that gets released. Maybe a bit later. Depends on if I'm gonna be in the middle of another Doom project. And honestly, if I don't do... I mean, if it's 31st of May, I will only barely... I will not even be able to finish with this one by that time. And I don't know how I feel about streaming something else classic styled. Kind of classic, I guess it's not really super classic styled, but it's using the stock resources and whatnot. Stock textures. I would honestly prefer to squeeze like the Dark Souls Doom in there, in between this and Sigil.
I approve.
So yeah, we'll do that, I think. That's for
Kind of cool though how they let you, you know, pre-order this like fancy boxes with cool artwork and some cool soundtrack if you want to buy Sigil.
Honestly, I think there was like a... I might be imagining it because, like, based on my expectations and precedent from previous situations. But wasn't there like a sample of the soundtrack somewhere uploaded that you could listen to decide to pre-order or not, based if you really care about soundtrack? I feel like I listened, or maybe it was just, you know, the band or whoever made it had their previous works linked or something. But I listened to it and I was like, I don't need this. I don't want to see one for free. There, of course, there's the Romero head statuette. I don't know if there's any other art in there.
Well, this is collector stuff.
Yeah.
Normal people wouldn't just buy it.
I would like a Romero head statuette because it's a cool piece of Doom memorabilia that I would own, but it came kind of too late, and also I really don't trust postage to work across countries like that. I had previously backed a comic book just for the novelty of it for like 75 bucks, and it never arrived. So I probably will not do anything involving shipping from anywhere ever again.
Well, I once ordered a tabletop game from United States, but I did so through, you know, middle company that took care of shit, and it arrived just fine.
Ah.
And I also had an experience where Logitech support sent me a replacement for my headphones.
Well,
but that was not from United States, it was like somewhere from Europe, I think.
I feel like...
And it also got delivered by UPS or whatever it was called.
Yeah, that's different. I imagine any number of things could have gone wrong. I probably should have written to the campaign dude about not getting that. But I'm not sure, like, there could be any number of reasons. Maybe the way I wrote my address, something was wrong with it. Though I am told that it's not any automated way, and the address is mostly used for, like, the post around here in Russia, which they should be able to interpret into Russian from the English. That I wrote it without any translation. I mean, with some translation, like street, I guess, but the names were all clear as day. So I don't know if it got lost here, if it got... There was, to my knowledge, there was not any, like, you know, you get some sort of postage number that you can follow the fate of your order.
Yeah.
Sometimes I didn't get any of that. Maybe I did somewhere and I just missed it. I don't know. And I think by now it's late. It was supposed to start delivering like in autumn from the previous year. And I kind of just waited and waited because I knew that, you know, it would be hella delayed with the Russian post. But now it feels like it's already too late to do anything about it. So that's kind of sad. And honestly though, I pretty much backed the comic for ideological reasons, more so out of the desire for that comic to own it. So I might just read some sort of scan if I really care. Whatever. Also, I don't remember talking about squeezing anything possibly. I know this. Oh, by the way.
You were talking about streaming schedule.
Ah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, I guess I kind of went through a bunch of this level without noticing it. But the Slough of Despair had somehow managed to become Mount Erebus, which is interesting. I guess even here it has Mount Erebus elements. This is Ashen Steppes. Makes sense. But yeah, I'm... Huh. Actually, that might be accessible from the outside here. If I dare... Do I dare? If I do dare, okay. Fuck it. Oh, glasses. I don't know if I need the glasses, but let's take them. Now I won't be able to tell where it was dark. Yellow key. Okay, here is the other place I could go. But yeah, so Doom wise, Doom is probably still relegated to side schedule. When we're done with Mortal Kombat, it's not gonna be in a while with the PlayStation 2 ones. If I still have anything Doom, I'll move it into the main schedule at that point. But, or if we're done with Witcher, which I don't know which will happen first, honestly. But for
Are
now...
the DLCs long?
Well, the first DLC that we started, I know about. I don't know about the second, because I've never finished it. The first DLC, there's... I want to say, like, you know, the 3 wishes, right? I want to say we'll be able to do like 1.5 wishes per stream. And the finale is pretty short after all that is done. There are some additional things in there. Some side quests or some optional quests that I really want to do. There's one optional quest for the... for that, you know... It's connected to the main storyline. I don't think it helps in any way, but it's really cool and I really want to do it. Though it's not... Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said it was really cool, because there's like literally one cool moment on it and that's it. But I still really want to do it. So I'm too lazy to calculate. Maybe 3 or 2 sessions is going to be the first DLC done. Probably 3, to be honest. And the second I have no idea about. Money Spider, that is a bit tumultuous. I feel like my immersion in games and my experience with games is a bit hurt by streaming, because I'm just not...
immersion!
Exactly. I'm just not paying as much attention when I am streaming. And, you know, I'm always... There is this need to either speak or hurry up and not like dawdle in any one place, or to do good. There's always some pressure when I'm streaming. Basically, I'm playing Rage 2 without streaming, and I can tell how many things I would not be able to do if I decided to stream it. Because, like, I would go to an outpost or some sort of shit that is supposed to be a bit high level for me, and I would bang my head on it for, like, an hour. Well, I mean, no, that didn't happen. But there are a couple things that I really gave way too many attempts to, and eventually beat. One of them I didn't, but most of them I did. But that would not be... I would not be able to make myself do that during streaming. And so, I'm definitely gonna stream stuff like Cyberpunk, for example, when it comes out. For Doom Eternal, I am still undecided on whether it will lose much. Because even honestly, I cannot tell. Mortal Kombat X story mode I played on my own, I fucking loved it. Mortal Kombat 11 story mode I played on stream, it was kind of like fleeting impressions. Okay, it was cool in the moment, but alright. Dark Souls 1 I played on my own. Memorable, most memorable. Dark Souls 2 and 3 I streamed. It's kind of whatever. Take it or leave it. So I literally cannot tell, because I also think that, like, objectively, or from so far as, you know, my preference go and my opinions, I can name the things that I think are worse about the things that I just haven't to stream and like less. But I'm not convinced it's one way or another, so I'm debating whether or not I want to stream Doom Eternal. Basically, that's what that long tirade came to.
You could try, like, streaming without me in Discord, and you could, like, read chat only, like, every once in a while, like every 20 minutes or so.
And not speak. I remember I was going to do that for, like, random games that I played. But for some reason I don't know. Maybe I would do that, you know what, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Also, yes, Postal Dude, I played Rage 1. It's somehow... I don't know right now. The textures, of course, the texture resolution in Rage 1 was kind of abysmal. And there are some things in, like, the little plants and herbs that grew everywhere were sprites, and it looked kind of shitty. But it was legitimately, apart from those aspects, one of the prettiest games I've ever seen. And I feel like Rage 2 doesn't even like... Okay, I nearly said doesn't even come close, but it doesn't mean like... The usage of even would be wrong there. Even Rage 2, even after all this time, it doesn't quite reach the level of graphical impressiveness that Rage 1 had. Well, hello champion, we did have some videos that Hippocat vocally.
Hello.
In some videos he was only in chat. I don't remember what sims they were, but in some. In one of the Mortal Kombat ones, I think. And one of the Deceptions. He wasn't here. What was I talking about? Rage 1, yes. So basically, graphically, I feel like even if I play it today, I would still be more impressed. But Rage 2 looks really good. And plays, it's really fun. I'm playing on like second, not Nightmare, but right under Nightmare, the difficulty. Probably hard or something like that. It's way easier than Rage 1, holy shit! In Rage 1 I had so many problems. It's positioned like this run and gun arcade shooter, but every time I poke out of cover, everyone just fucking annihilates me immediately. I cannot play that game without just boringly ducking behind cover in every possible fight. And also the resource scarcity is kind of fucking crazy in Rage 1. It's like Stalker. I always run out of bullets and I have to like barely scrape by with whatever bullets and switch to some weird guns I don't want to use. Rage 2, I guess it's not as hardcore, and I'll probably prefer Rage 1 if I was better at it, just from pure skill, which at this point in my life I might be. I want to replay Rage 1 after I'm done with 2. But it's pretty impressive I have not played many open world games recently. So I don't know, for like the recent 2 Assassin's Creeds, the recent couple Far Cry's, I don't know how they play, what the structure is like, but Rage 2 keeps impressing me with, like, you know, you expect a lot of things to be repetitive, like Morrowind Dungeons, where was it, blue? Where it's an open world game, so it's probably gonna have a bunch of the same types of structures in it and things to do, but there are for sure some copy pastes, and some, like there's like an egregious one-to-one copy paste, really like sub dungeon where you have to just kill all eggs. Where was the other colored door? This one I went through. I'm mixing it up with the previous level as well. I don't remember where the other colored door was. Huh. But a lot of content in Rage 2 is A, not marked on the map, and B, kinda unique. But don't ask me to give you examples, because oh, there's the door. Because I don't really... Fuck, I didn't want to fall down here. I don't really remember most of those things, because they're like kind of small things, you just find stuff. Though now that I have a radar thing that like shows how close you are to a chest or pretty much any other significant item in the world, it's a bit less actual eye vision based exploration, which I kind of wish that item didn't exist. Because you start out, you actually like ride and walk through the world, you look at the buildings to see if one of them has entrances, and if it has, there's a high chance there might be something good in there. If you have like a suburb style row of houses, one of them is marked with like a red cross on a door, you can spot it, and that means that's enterable. Might be enterable through some convoluted means sometimes. But okay. This. But now with that radar, it's kind of spoiled. I don't look at the environment as much anymore. But it's still really fun. And you know, just the shooting. Okay, there might be cacodyms coming from above somewhere unexpected. Probably not in the cave. So you got your machine gun. Pistol I've stopped using immediately after I got another gun, and I don't know if I'll use it again. The machine gun is just like, okay, I have this one machine gun, I can use it for the entire game and it'll carry me if I want to. because it works really well. I've put armor piercing upgrades into it, so it's good against the immortal shrouded the guys who usually have a lot of armor. And it's pretty strong now that I've put a lot of strength upgrades into me as a character, like across all guns. And I can just use that one. There's a shotgun, and it is actually surprisingly effective at long range, kind of like DooM one shotgun almost. And that's fun to use in some situations as well. More risky a little bit, but quicker to kill things. There is a rocket launcher that I whip out when I just want something gun quickly. There was that gimmicky pistol that throws like darts that don't do anything by themselves, but then you press the Alt fire and all those darts explode and immolate anything that was in the vicinity. And I haven't used that gun in like for many hours. And then I tried, and then I found out it's actually pretty cool. I mainly didn't use it because it's, you know, you have to land one hit exactly. It's not like a spray gun or a gun with a spread, you actually need to land those hits. But I found out it's hella powerful actually. And if you put a couple darts into a person, an unarmored person, one dart is enough, they will die. Armored person, one or two, like 2 or 3 darts rather, are enough, they will die. And you just run around, you spray that shit across multiple people, then you press the button, everyone fucking burns down immediately. It's actually super fun and super useful. Now I got this pulse gun that does not need reloading, does good damage, seems to be doing good damage to armor, but it overheats, and also it does more damage in a certain hit range. So like, there's a button to manually cool it down faster than normal, and it heats up as you continuously shoot, and you keep it in the range from like a quarter to full heat, and it does more damage than normal, and it shoots faster. So all the while you use that gun, you basically need to keep a lookout on this meter on the crosshair and manage that, but in return you get a really powerful gun. So I don't remember if I have anything else. There's still some other guns that I have not found yet, and there are like abilities you get. Most of them I have almost never used, but in a couple situations I actually remembered about them and they were pretty useful. And it's fun. And you know, with a machine gun, why also I wouldn't have problems just playing the entire game with it. The human enemies, when you blow their heads up with the machine gun, the sound is the juiciest fucking like lemon crush, melon explosion crush sound ever. It's like, okay, I don't know if I've ever had a more satisfying sound for a head popping in an FPS. And sometimes it's still a bit challenging. There are mutants, normally they are not quite as dangerous. I remember them being in Rage 1. But there are mutant bosses which are also easy-ish. All the bosses are kind of easy, but a lot of them are unique, which surprised me. Unique in the sense like, okay, there might be used 2 times out of like the 10 mutant bosses you face. That kind of unique. My strange is hunting rifle shotgun from... I don't know if I ever used shotguns in Stalker. I suck with them, and I never use them. I always use just machine guns. I also don't use sniper guns. There was that one sniper rifle that was like difficult to find, had special super rare ammo and was really powerful. I don't remember the name, to my shame, but I barely even used that one. Also whipping holes, I just realized the name of the level I forgot to look at. Okay, this hole hurts. Good old Pandemonium. I will say this is a better Pandemonium than Pandemonium because it's kind of like more spacious and less contained, I guess. It feels more chaotic than Pandemonium. I like it. Now, if only this style was just a gimmick. I guess maybe other hell levels won't have like tech-based textures and lava on the sky, but it's just a very slightly different texture. I mean, I guess it's not a really fair complaint that only the textures are different from other levels, but still. This one stands out, but not enough. And the other levels don't stand. You know what? I'm kind of tempted to have a stream. How long has this one been going? I'm kind of tempted to stream like an hour of Rage 2 just from the middle of the game, wherever the hell I am in right now. Just to show what kind of game, what it is like. But I don't know at what point doing what would be the best representation, because most of it, like, there is enough scripted stuff where you go into like a building and you go through the building or a basement of some sort, and it's, you know, linear and story based for the story missions. But most of the stuff I do is just I ride around, I attack convoys, yes, grab it caravan pretty much. I clear out bandit camps, which is not that different looking from Far Cry since 3 bandit camps, but it feels different because I don't snipe anyone almost ever. I just run all in, and that's really pleasant to do. In Far Cry 3 I couldn't handle running all in, I had to snipe everything. I was bad at those games. And what else do? I like, okay, a lot of my time is spent looking for that last goddamn chest in every location of interest. So I'm not sure if I stream like that, if I can make it representative of the overall game experience. But I kind of want to play Rage 2, and I kind of want to stream. You know what? What if I stop the stream after we're done with this level, and I stream like an hour of Rage 2? I guess Supercat actually has to leave soon, so maybe not today. Never mind. I will still probably stop after this level is done. But maybe I'll have a Rage 2, like a middle of Rage 2. Let's just look at it briefly, stream. Also, I have 8 bullets and nothing else, I just realized. Interesting. But yeah, not today. Sorry, I was a bit quick to propose that before thinking that we don't have time for it. Okay, I need to do this real careful, like... some infighting has to happen. Rage quit, har. I don't think actually it would be pretty top if the exit option in the menu in Rage was called Rage quit, but it's not. Oh no, how am I meant to deal with that shit with this amount of ammunition? Fuck that. And fuck this as well. I guess with the rocket launcher I could, but there's still way too many of them. I just need you guys to move out of the way. I will not move out of the way. Okay, now I need a rad suit. Thank you for the rad suit. I guess I didn't really need the rad suit, but whatever. Okay, now I've got stuff. I don't know, Louis, but... I mean, you did immediately, but... unless you mean a different thing. The developers didn't think. They were the ones who didn't think of Rage quit. Also, apparently, the intent... Holy shit, I should not be standing in one place. The word Rage is mildly based from the word garage, which I found pretty retarded. That's why there's cars in the game. They were like, okay, cars means garage, okay, Rage is part of garage. Let's call it Rage because it also works. Rage against the Authority. The main enemy faction in the games is called the Authority. Though, in the Rage 2, nearly all the bandits, like there are some bandit factions, not as many I think as in Rage 1, because in Rage 1 almost literally every dungeon had different bandit faction. But in Rage 2 there are the Swamp Bandit faction that I don't remember the name of, the Immortal Shrouded, which I don't remember. Okay, they're really weird, because in Rage 1 there were two like Electric Tinker based factions. One were Russians and one were guys who had a lot of toy remote controlled cars. And I don't remember which ones were the Shrouded. I have a suspicion that I have a suspicion that the remote toy controlled cars were the Shrouded. But now, in this game, there's some sort of weird-ass cult, which doesn't seem like either of those two factions that might be the Shrouded in Rage 1. But the main bandit faction that is across the majority of the game is the Goons, and I can just pretend that I'm killing members of the Something Awful forums throughout the entire game. And it's really gratifying. I don't know if it's intentional. I think there is a mention of a Goon Squad in there as well. Okay, yellow door now accessible. There's still a lava pit. Should I bother with the Barons? I'm not sure. They will come for me as soon as some door is open somewhere. Well, couldn't do much with the rocket launcher, but a little bit helps. Well, yeah, I guess all in all, like graphics I feel were very important, a very important point of Rage 1. Honestly, the gameplay the AI and like the animations were cool, but the gameplay itself was nothing to me to particularly write home about. Also, I don't use wing sticks. I never use them. Everyone fucking loves them. I never use them, and I probably never will. The graphics in Rage 1, because of the approach, I guess, where the entire world is like modeled as in one object almost, or however, mega texture, I don't know. Maybe not quite one object, but a lot of it is unique, and all the pre-baked texture mapping, not mapping, texture like layering and painted texture, well, kind of like you do on landscapes. I think in Rage 1 the mega texture was literally just like you paint the textures like you would normally do just only on the landscape, but on all of the geometry. And it includes baked in light maps and everything. And that really helped make that game look completely different from every other, literally every other 3D game, in a way that I feel is still unappreciated and underappreciated by the public at large. Because with the lighting and with everything, you usually can tell when the game environment is made out of modules that are just repeated, you know? And in Rage 1 there were repeated modules and repeated textures. But holy shit, when simply, okay, on a landscape, which in Rage 1 a lot of it was sand, and it slowly, like, smoothly transitions into the rock cliffside or into objects that jut out from the sand. In literally every other game, there's the sharp as border between everything intersects. In Rage 1, they were able to leave that limitation, and all the stuff that juts out of other stuff in the environment actually looks like it's like better, more realistic, and not just clipping through each other like in every other game ever. Of course, the downside is there's no dynamic lighting in Rage 1, I think. No sexual cult. Well, I don't remember if there was. You know what? The Swamp Hillbilly type band, their data pads really involve a lot of talking about fucking. I don't know. They could count as the closest to a sexual cult. Wow, sexual cult. Whoops, that was a really low-key horrible swear, but
fucking, you know. Freudian sleep.
So, well, I mean, after the word sexual, what else do you think of? But yeah, I mean, okay, Luis, I don't want to overhype Rage 2. I'm not as tired of open world games as I imagine most people are. And just by virtue of Rage being an ID Software, id Software IP, I'm kind of biased for it. So I feel like I might be overvaluing the game a little bit. But I do think it's a great game. Okay. Now comes the door hunt. It's kind of amusing. Everyone is talking about, I mean, switch hunts are one thing, but I think key hunts are a thing. I heard the term key hunt before, at least, but no one ever talks about door hunts. I guess everyone is like Hippocat and uses hex and maps. But yeah, I guess, I mean, I feel like before, when open world game worlds, wow, I really butchered that whole phrase. When open world game worlds were smaller, there was more care put into them. There were more unique elements, there was more to find. Like GTA San Andreas is more fun to explore than GTA 5, in my opinion. And Rage 2 doesn't go away from those shortcomings of an open world game. But that is not to say that it is not a good game. Overall, I still feel like it's a really good game. And if you're not sick of open world and, you know, looking at the map, okay, there are these and these symbols, that means there are those and those activities here and here, and I want to clear the map, so I'm gonna have to drive there and do them. If you are not sick to death of those kinds of things, there are no towers to climb, I can tell you that much. But I would recommend it, I guess. Okay, I am officially a lost soul. I can't even see unopened doors on the map. I'm kind of afraid of... Okay, I was wearing a suit right now. But still. Oh, there's an open door. Okay, there we go. Man, I feel like I do this what it deserves by streaming it in the sense, because I would have appreciated it more had I played it without streaming, in a way that I would be able to follow the layouts and remember where everything is. I think that's... For Doom levels like this... Shit, well... That's the only element that is truly lost by streaming. But it's still a bit sad. But yeah, there should be enough stuff left on the map in Rage 2 for me to be able to give you a slice of the experience if I decide to stream like an hour or two of it. Okay, the BFG tripped me up, so... Is it gonna be one of those situations where those teleport line deaths are one time only, and next time I try to approach the BFG from that angle, it's gonna let me? Yes, okay, cool. I had a secret like that, but stupider. And shit, haha. Also, what did I even achieve there? That's a blue door. Literally only the BFG and that other place, which is now inaccessible, which means there is no exiting the level from there. That place in there has a yellow thing to it, and I can't help but feel like it's important. Maybe I can shoot it. It's not actually anything from the looks of it. Okay, well, I see a yellow thing in there. Let's see if it's anything. Okay, it's a secret.
I don't know.
I guess it just doesn't come up. Also,
I mean, I'm not really streaming something super interesting for Android.
Yeah, I was
usually.
about to say that. The games you stream, like, okay. I don't need to preface with no offense, because it's just the games, not how you stream. When you stream a game that I am interested in, I watch fully, like, with full attention, like you would expect. But in Exanimo, for example, when you just walk around, like, mapping internally the sewer, or a lot of these, like, jank-ass old FPS games that are pretty repetitive, I mostly have you on background audio, like I imagine probably you use with my streams. And I tune in when something happens, or from time to time, just, you know, also, but mostly do something else, and on other monitor is the stream. Okay, so yeah, there is a yellow thing there. How to get there? Let's find out. Okay, I came from there. Means I need to go across the lava. I guess I can waste one of these suits. The lava is really damaging. Okay, in here, so there's this lava, which I'm wary about falling in there. I will quick save and I will see. Literally no way out. And it's the type of lava that hurts you through the suit sometimes. Okay. Ah, makes sense, Shinganri. Yeah, I forgot about those. You need like a darker sector if the room doesn't have dark enough sectors anywhere to blink properly. I usually do, like, when I do that type of thing, I don't make those sectors adjacent to the actual playing area sector. I make a room elsewhere in the void and I join the sectors. And then I make adjacent sectors to that room. Same for when I need sound to propagate across weird sectors. Like, you know, in the original Dooms they have sometimes these little, like, mouse passages. And those were used to make sound propagate to places where you wouldn't expect. For mostly teleport traps, I guess. Though I don't remember any teleport traps in Map 01 and Doom 2, but there was that little mousy hole in one of the imp rooms. But you can fully do that if you just make a void room and join it to the sector. So if I really want enemies to hear me, I pretty much make like one, I don't even know how to call it, like hub room maybe, in the void, with really low floor and really high ceiling. and then I make a lot of like triangular adjacent sectors to it, and I join them with the sectors in the level where the player is likely to shoot, and also with the sector where the enemies are that need to hear it. And I put block sound between the hub sector and the void, like on the line between it and every adjacent sector, so the sound cannot propagate between those sectors, because it would have to travel from the sector in the level to the hub room, cross one block sound line, and then to get to any other sector from the hub room it would need to cross the other block sound line, so it won't get there. But from the hub room without a block sound line, it will get to every monster closet sector where I need it to be. So that's how I use it without any mousy holes. And for lights and stuff like, you know, weird heights that you need to move the sectors to by using like lowest adjacent ceiling, for example, I also use those like dummy void sectors for the adjacent ceilings and floors and whatnot. Fuck off. Okay, this is gonna be real bad if I get stuck down here with those dudes, but I need the ammo. And I don't need to use the ammo. Go away, you piece of literal shit. That was a bit tense. Getting intense. Wow, that's a Diablo 2 reference. I'm kind of disappointed it's not black and gold. I guess there are no textures with black and gold. Okay, so I'm not sure that this level I'll fit in 20 minutes. And even though Hippocrates is not super interested in the sword, I don't really want to just him to leave like a little bit before the stream actually ends. And this stream was never meant to be really long anyway. So I think this will be it for today. Sorry for only having, what, like 5... I guess because I was not looking for secrets, I kind of sprinted through these levels. And I was not really talking about the WoD itself too much. But yeah, it's gonna be a shorter Doom stream today. And thank you for tuning in. See you whenever, probably Friday for Witcher, I think. Friday's gonna be Witcher, I forget. Maybe, who knows, maybe on Thursday I'll stream some shit for an hour again. But yeah, for now, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.